The ground is hot and bare. Feel the static in the air. Straight rising, we don't care. About to feel you clinging there. Step in line, hear the beat drop. Body, mind, so we don't stop. Train it up, train it high. Next year reaching for the sky. Push the limit, don't ask why. This is how we're born to fly. March to the future, neon glow. Through the fire we will grow. Every move a deadly flow. Next gen rising, ready show. Eyes ahead, the rhythm calls. Stand up tall, we break the walls. Train it up, train it high. Next gen reaching for the sky. Push the limit, don't ask why. This is how we're born to fly.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Next Gen Training Show here on the Sparta HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always, the coach in the building tonight. Good to be here with you guys. How am I sounding tonight, Coach?
Yeah, you sound okay. It's not loud, but it's good enough.
It's not super loud, but good enough. All right,
Yeah,
we'll
it's
take
good
that.
enough.
I'll keep tweaking it as the show goes on. But how you doing, sir?
Hey man, I'm okay, man. Today's Thursday, man. The weather's starting to get that little fall, little twist to it, just a little nip where it's starting to, be a little cooler at night. So just ready to ride it out, man. Change the seasons, man.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, I certainly appreciate the this time of year as well, in part because again the nights are more enjoyable. So like when you're out date night with the wife or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, the weather's not so hot. When it's like June in early July, that stickiness of the summer
Mm-hmm.
is just
Mm-hmm.
on you, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's like it's always going to be on you. So I appreciate certainly being able to enjoy my evenings, or even when I come home, walk my dog at night and whatnot. I don't have to worry about sweating or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Summertime, I get it gets crazy out there. So yeah, this mid to late August weather is like perfect, especially at nighttime. You want to enjoy dinner with the wife out on a eating outside at a restaurant. That's always good. So, but again, appreciate you guys being on here tonight. Make sure when you come in tonight, hit the like button as you come in and be part of the conversation. And we're going to be talking some general terms here tonight. So again, through the show, we talked about a variety of topics dealing with your mindset, your physical state, and whatnot. So we're gonna, always push that. We're gonna go into a little bit of finances for the next few weeks and see how these conversations go. Again, not to say we're not financial experts by any means. But again, these are two bald opinions, and we may talk about some things and some strategies that may work for us. So we're going to be talking about this topic generally. But just like anything else, we don't give medical advice either. So see a doctor for medical advice, see a
Yes.
financial planner for financial advice. But just take just take some wisdom from some guys who've been doing this for a minute. But before we get into that, so Coach, so as always, we're going to do a pies check. And so again, if you just want to break down your list of pies, how things going for you?
Yeah, man. My physical, man, my P, man, it's all over the place, man. Again, 57, man, it's a little different.
Hmm.
That between 50 and 55, it's an adjustment, but 57 is changes the game for me because
Sure.
how my muscles and stuff. I don't know. I had a exam for arthritis, but they came back, negative. But my joints and stuff are sometimes locking up, especially in my hands. So
Mhm.
got to pay attention to that. And I got some appointments coming up. Intellectually, man, I'm looking at YouTube. I'm always evaluating YouTube. I think just over the next 6 months or so, I'm gonna really look at, you know, direction I want to go in as far as like actually getting out, getting into the community, getting my hand in this, be it to sort of, I guess, save young men and young women's lives in any capacity.
Right.
I don't know if I don't think I got the basketball job. I don't, I don't know what they were looking for, but I did my best. The interview went well. I presented well. I had a nice little slideshow and went into my philosophies and how I can
You
really
said
help
you had a
the.
slide. You had a slideshow.
Yeah, man, I had a little slideshow
Wow.
because he had say have a present, and the slideshow is cool, man. I can bring it up one day and let you see it, man.
Yeah,
It was all
I
right,
got to
man.
check that out. I got to check
It's all
that
right,
out.
man. Had a couple of links on there with UCLA girls basketball,
Hmm.
and I don't know, man. I did my best, man. I presented my, had a
Well, you
nice little
can do.
uniform on. And, as far as I go professional, I don't go just old polo, not for a job interview, but I wasn't overdressed, I had my little tie, my little teacher sweater on. What's the little sleeves cut off, little sweater, long sleeve, had the school color in it. They was like an old gold, so I had that in there. But
Right.
yeah, I was cool. But yeah, so I'm just thinking about something like that, just to really uh, continue my just journey of just working with young people, man. So I'm gonna put together some things, like I said, over the next 6 months. So by next school year, I'm already solidified in that space because I think I can do my greatest good in the space in the school.
Right. Right.
So emotionally, I'm a little wary. My wife, she's like 3 years younger than me,
Hmm.
and she's starting to have some health issues that she's worried about. So I'm just worried along with her. But I think we're gonna be okay because she's pretty on it when it comes to health because she's in a health field, but she doesn't go into offices and she don't even know. Mr. Bennett, my wife, whatever she do in the health field, she don't apply for a job. The jobs call her.
Right.
So but she's older, and like I said, she's worried about it. So I'm like, let's focus on that. So and then spiritually, man, again, I'm just connected to again my family, man, and in this space. I always try to come into the space just prepared for everything that the space is gonna provide for me. So I'm in.
I hear you. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. My pies. That's interesting. My physical. I just got reminded this morning since this morning was leg day. So I just
Mhm.
got reminded again that our ages, you cannot afford not to be consistent. So obviously with
Mhm.
the travel and whatnot, the biggest thing for me is getting my workout regimen to where I want it to be. So for the last a few weeks, I've done sort of modified leg workouts, but this because I was home this week. This was the first time that I actually put in like a serious, okay, like a dedicated lower body leg workout. This was leg day, and it just reminds you again, and one, how quickly the gains can go from you. That you feel like you didn't work out at all for the last few
Mhm.
weeks, even though you were doing something. You were doing some leg stuff, but after working the upper body for a long period of time, and then you do legs afterwards on the same day. It's just my body just was having trouble with that. So I really was looking forward to this week. But then you realize the losses and gains that you have. Unfortunately, with fitness, if we could find a way to say, look, you can get in if you get into your best shape. If you, as long as you make a promise to get into your best shape, and then you can keep it,
Get locked in right there.
lock in, get into your best shape, and then lock it in. You'll never have to do this again. I think a lot of people would be in shape, but the problem is, again, you have folks who, it's again, only a couple of weeks off is all it takes to realize, like, whoa, my body's, my legs are like, what are you doing? It's not like we haven't done this before, but so again, I have to. What I need to do when next time I get, because I'm flying out Monday morning, 6 a.m. flight, I'm flying out. One thing I have to do this time is I have to get me a gym membership.
Okay.
Down to either some daily passes, find me a gym that has, I can squat. They got leg press, they got legit gear, so I can really train my lower body the way I should. Trying to make it up on the weekends, or like I said today, it was just bad. I mean, I feel like I lifted 500 pounds and I didn't. I might have lifted half of that. So I got to get back to that. So finding a gym membership down there. Saturdays when I'm home is good because I can do everything like I usually do, certainly for upper body. But I need that leg day. I need that dedicated while I'm in there and really doing my leg presses, my squats, high bar and low bar squat. I need to get that work in. I need to get the stretching in and really just dedicate to it. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And so I'm good there. Intellectual, look, it's been a very demanding week work-wise, but very good in that we were able to get a lot of things accomplished. So again, this is basically being thrown into the fire because, again, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but my boss got sick.
Yeah.
And he was like a major guy there. So it's like next man up. You know what I mean? Everybody has to pick up and do things. And so you're learning things as you go along. And we're finally able to make some progress in certain areas. And so I'm, hopefully this will be good as I go down there next week, that we'll have a more solid week. So intellectual is good. Emotionally is good because of that. Usually when my physical and intellectual is good, I'm pretty good emotionally. And then, spiritually, again, you just count your blessings and you just realize the position that you're in, the fact that I could be at this point in my life and still learning things and adding new skill sets to my repertoire. It's just a great place to be in. So I really appreciate the opportunity that's in front of me, and just always just the mindset of always looking forward with hope to the future. So that's kind of where I'm at. And but again, for the folks who are in here tonight, again, how are your pies? How are you doing? How are you living? How's your physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual? All these things are important aspects of life. Like I said at the beginning, this show for a series of shows. And I may not be on, just to give you guys a heads up, I may not be on next week because, again, that's a travel day for me. So, again, we may have a replacement for that. But I'll make sure that the guys are prepared for the show. But that being said, we're going to be going into a financial piece because, again, it's outside of the four that we focus on. And like I said, neither one of us are financial experts. But nevertheless, though, having sound financial peace of mind goes a long way for your emotional and spiritual, even your spiritual health. I think it goes a long way of doing that because you're not stressing over things. And then, certainly, stress can lead to also to physical ailments as well. So again, just being prepared in this aspect of your life is something that, it can be important. So we're going to talk about some general principles tonight. And again, we may throw in some things that have helped us over the years. The one thing I'm kind of happy about the background that I had, even though it was kind of rough. But what I liked about my background the most is that if you wanted money, you had to go get it on your own. Because mom and dad certainly didn't have any. And in fact, I remember being as a teen, I'm 16, 17 years old, both my dad and my brother hit me up for money because they didn't necessarily manage that well, or they didn't have the money there. So I kind of learned pretty early on to be a bit of a miser with the money. And, so I've tried to maintain some of that over the years. If you go through different, ebbs and flows with that, but it's always been beneficial to me. But Coach, you kind of talk about your background. I know you started cutting hair early. When you started making some bread, like first job you can recall having in making that bread?
before I say something, the story you just told about your dad and your brother, yeah, that was me. That was me.
So
I-
it's just something.
and I'll tell you the little crazy part with my dad. Like I said, man, yeah, man, I don't know. I was always an inquisitive kid, man. The toys I used to get, if they stopped working, I would find myself with a screwdriver, so trying to take it apart, see if I can get the fix. Even if I just took it apart and put it back together,
Right.
playing Tonka toys, putting things together, finding love. So I've always been that type of kid. And when I got me a pair of clippers, I don't know what made me ask my mother for a pair of clippers. And man, she bought me those clippers, man.
Yeah, the
From
Andes.
that
Would you have
day,
the Andes? Would you have the Andes or would you have
the Oysters was my
Oyster?
first pair. That was my first pair. What's up, Mo Love? Thank you, sir.
Did you have the one that had the sliding
Yes,
adjusted arm
man.
on the
Yes,
side?
that was my first pair, brother. Being the Oysters, right?
Yes, sir.
I just turned 14, and I was a kid. I never asked for a lot. I played sports, so I was always getting stuff. I didn't ask. So I got these clippers, and that first person's head I cut was my own. And I was always a steady hand guy, and I knew how to hold the mirror. And back then we was wearing the fade and the little ball fade. So I learned how to do that. I haven't been to a barbershop since, right?
Right.
So about 15, I cut my brother's hair. Of course, my dad, they getting free cuts. But then all my friends wanted to cut. So back then, minimum wage was $3.25, $3.35. So I was charging at least $3 a cut. For the first 2 years, I was $3 a cut. And then it got to a point, maybe my second year, like 15 going on 16, I was averaging it a day in my pocket about $30 a day. So I sort of held on to that mindset well into my adult years. Like, if I can maintain $30 a day and still have all of my bills paid, still have all of my responsibilities taken care of, I'm okay with that. I'm good, right? So one day, a crazy story, one day I'm asleep. And you know how in my room, I had a nice sized dresser that I used to, stash my little money, right? So I'm thinking I'm dreaming to sleep. I heard some rumbling. I said, damn, we got a mouse in the house. We ain't got no mouse. So I happened to wake up and look up. Why my father? He in my stash, brother.
Oh, no.
I'm like, man, what are you doing? And see, again, when I was a teenager, I could talk to my father like a real man. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I respected him a great deal,
Sure.
but I could man, what the hell you doing? So he like, oh, I need a little lunch money. I said, man, don't you work a full-time job? Because he worked at Louisville Slugger. He said, yeah, but you got it. I said, man, go ahead and take $5. I said, but don't ever ask me for no money again. And from that point on, he never asked me for no money. But I never asked him for money either.
Right.
He knew I always had it my whole life. And I always been, and it's crazy because I was talking about finance earlier. I mean, on another panel without even, and I say this, Mr. Bennett, today, and and I've shared this before. Me and my wife, I've gotten to a point financially that we live. She has $15 a day. I have $15 a day. See, I'm still on that same $30. She can do whatever she wants. That $15 a day. I can do what I want. She may not even spend no money for 3 weeks.
Right. But then that adds up. So then she wants to
Yes.
go out and buy herself something nice for that,
Yes.
that's $225 in 3 weeks. So you can get yourself some nice dress, some shoes.
It's about $900 between the both of us.
Yeah.
And I know I do more shopping than her. But I tell her, when you go out, just get what you want. Don't even think about me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know I'm going to have to go out, run errands for the house, do things. So I can always get what I need.
Yeah.
And she probably makes a run maybe twice a month. Sometimes I'll make her get out. I say, get outside, go.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have did it. I'm glad that when she came along and came on board, she just embraced that. Because at first she used to be like, why are you like that? I said, you'll see. And now that's all she do everywhere we go. Hey, Do they got a discount? Hey, can we get this? I was looking at this. We can get extra. So I'm like, cool. That's how we roll. So yeah, man. And I'll say this and I'll shut up. What I told my son is, and man, he's good at saving money.
Mhm.
I asked him, I said, man, how much you got in the bank? He said he got like 6,000-7,000 in the bank. I said, man, hold up, man. You know what I'm saying? I said, man, you okay, cool. He's 22 years old, he's working. I know he just got his CDLs. So I'm like, okay, man, just figure that out for a couple years. But still don't get stagnant if that's not something you want to do long term. But don't quit that until you find something else in the
Oh,
process.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm saying, so yeah, he's good at saving money, man. And he gets what he wants when he wants it, but he's looking at prices now. Like, do I really need it? Yes,
Absolutely.
no. So yeah, so it's just crazy how your story sort of match with mine. Like, you give me
Yeah, no,
freaking
it's like I said. I just remember, just as young as I can remember, I was always interested in making money. I remember, like, it might have started out selling, like, school stuff, T-shirts, or candy bars, or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And I remember my brother used to get upset with me because I would always count my money at the end of the night. Like, I'd be like, man, I made $45 today and whatnot. It's like, you counted your money twice already. It's like, yeah, I want to make sure I didn't miss a dollar,
Yeah,
But he would, like,
exactly.
he would clown me. But for all that clowning, you still, when you needed money, you were coming to me. So it's just funny too how a lot of things you might get chided for or made fun
Mm-hmm.
of when you were younger, and then you look back and kind of see where people are these days and whatnot. And you're just in a different space. So
Yes.
yeah, so that was just always a thing with me. Like I said, just making money, saving, at least saving when I could. Back then, the only time I could make money is when, again, other people needed it. And so it
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, well, you got it. So we got to keep the lights turned on, and we got to keep the rent paid, and we got to keep certain things going. So that was just something that was always there. But yeah, but generally speaking, look, I admit I'm a bit of a shopper, right? I do admit I'm a Marshall-holic. If I'm near a Marshalls, some people, you may not have Marshalls, you may have like a Ross or something like that in your
Mm-hmm.
area. I got to admit it, I got to go in there. Now, again, I may come out spending $15 on a couple shirts, or $30 on a shirt and pant combination, but I can't bring myself, like, probably the most expensive thing I probably ever bought with, like, my own money, like, as far as like luxury stuff, is I remember our first pair of Jordans back in 1985 cost $150.
Wow.
That was it. And again, in 1985. So imagine in today's money what that is.
Yeah.
But it's like, in terms of like luxury stuff like that, like, I've always bought what I needed. I mean, I like clothes, I like to dress, but again, I can't, I wasn't going to get that Gordon Gartrell shirt.
No.
I'm not going to get the $300, $400 Louboutins or whatever. That's just not me. If I can't get it off a clearance, or what have you, I've shopped at thrift stores for some of my wardrobe. If I can't do that, then I'm like, nah. I mean, it's just something that it's just not in me to spend that kind of money for something that I know is either I'm going to outgrow or grow out of, or won't be in style anymore in a few years. So that's just, I've never been a big spender like that. I bought what I needed, and nowadays, if I do buy clothing, since I do like to shop at Marshalls, I got to give away something. So it's like, if I buy a shirt, I give away a shirt. If I haven't worn that shirt in about a year, then I probably don't need to wear that shirt anymore, and I just give it in the Goodwill, or the pants, or shoes. If I buy a pair of shoes, I got to get rid of a pair of shoes. So that's just how it's always been with me. Never to just kind of overdo it, or just because I am a bit of a compiler, a collector, and so I'm just sort of working that out. But again, these are just, again, some of just personal things that we've done, that
Yeah.
we've shared over the years, that I think just that getting that habit early. And probably one of the biggest things, though, again, my daughters, I still got to teach them some things on finance. I still got to work. I'm glad when you said your son saved $7,000, whatever. I'm happy to hear that. Mine, they need a little more work. But one thing I'm glad I did teach them early on, or the one thing that my wife and I did early on, as soon as they were able to work, they got jobs. So we said, when you turn 16 and eligible for work, whatever money that you were getting from us, whether it be, if you want to call it an allowance, or anything like that, that basically ended and said, if you want something, if you want, we'll give you enough money to get you Skechers, which they absolutely hate. If you want the Nikes, if you want the Air Force Ones or whatever, you're gonna have to work for them.
Yeah.
And so we instilled in them early on. So my daughters have always worked a job, worked multiple jobs. My daughter, just before she went to medical school, she had 2 jobs she was rocking, just making as much money as she could before she went down. So I think all my daughters have had this sort of work ethic that they're just not going to sit idle when they know to need things, and they know not to come to me for it unless it's an absolute necessity. That if they want that, then they're going to have to work and earn it. And so that's something that I'm glad I put in, because I've seen a lot of, especially for a lot of parents who might be a little bit more affluent, their kids went through their whole teenage years and never had a job.
Mhm.
And almost you can kind of see now kind of where they're at. I
Struggling.
mean, it's not, well, they're not struggling. I wouldn't say struggling because, again, they got their parents still. But as far as their initiative, in terms of their drive, in terms of, again, money management, which we're going to talk about tonight, a lot of it is just not there. It's almost like they kind of have like a security blanket. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And like I said the other night, I mean, one of my big things, especially for a man, is, again, to live independently. But there's a little less to do that when you know that mom and dad are, they got the funds to bail me out, or what have you. So I just, for a lot of kids, again, I know sports is important and whatnot, but you had a lot of parents having their kids playing travel ball, travel team, or whatnot all year round. So they never worked, and they never worked, just the money, whatever they needed, they just got things for them. And I think it definitely makes a difference. When they're trying to get jobs or get into the fields or whatnot, and they don't have, it's like they're learning from day one. So it's just those things that I can talk to personally, that I can specifically call out, are things that I certainly I believe that have benefited my family, and I would even, to the point where I would even encourage others to do so. If your kids are eligible for work, and that your kid's not going to be the next LeBron James, let them get a job. I don't care if it's in a burger joint. I don't care if it's in a retail store. I don't care if it's real job I had was, we worked the summers in my school, in my high school. And we would paint the school every year. We'd have to go in the desks. Remember, guys used to put the gum under the desks. We'd
Mhm.
have to scrape that
Scrape it
off
off.
every
Mhm.
day. So we had to get the school ready for the fall, and that was like the first. So it was labor intensive. It was hard. It was hot in the summertime, but we made sure that we did all those things. So again, a kid having a job and having it early is a good habit to instill in your kids before they go on to their next. But let's get into this. Got some slides to show here, and we'll talk about these later on. So David, if you're in the back, if you can bring up the slides, we're going to talk about managing finances. Again, these are going to be, again, some general concepts, and again, we'll throw our 2 cents in as we go through the slides. But David, if you can bring these slides up, and we'll keep the conversation going, or we'll just keep talking until they do come up. But certainly if you can get to that, we appreciate it. But the whole idea is, and especially with younger people, and again, this concepts that we're looking at here, it can apply to people at every age, and some things may not apply to every age. But one thing I think for sure, especially with the first one, thank you, appreciate it. If you can bring us over to the side, I think that would be good too. Yeah, appreciate that. So one of the things that how this breaks down as far as managing finances, it really breaks down to what you do, just like Coach said earlier, what you do every day. $15 a day is yours to spend. What you do with that makes a world of difference in terms of, not only your daily goals, your weekly goals, your monthly, quarterly, and annual goals. So we're going to talk about this in sort of general terms. So let's start with some of those daily tasks. Okay, again, record any spending, checking account balances, read finance related newsletters and literature. These are daily things that you can do to either make yourself more financially astute, or to really get a handle on things. Because especially with young people, let's deal with the first one. The spending that you do on a daily basis can really compound over the month. I've seen a lot of kids, especially in college, who think they're too bougie for regular coffee. They got to have Starbucks coffee. And I remember parents that I knew, their kid was at, I think at Boston U or something like that, and they were getting like a $300 a month charge on the card. It was like, what is this? Because they were getting Starbucks every day. So these are things that you really need to, if you're wondering, like, where's the money going? And again, this is a conversation that I've had to have with my daughters on occasion. Where did the money go? I do their taxes every year. Where did the money go? It starts with what you're doing on the daily. And you got to watch those charges that are sort of that are dripping out of your account. And then before you turn around, it's like, oh, I don't have money, or you're scrambling. So again, record what you're doing on a daily basis and try to get a pattern of your spending over time. I think is a key strategy in terms of getting your finances under control. Starts with the stuff that's bleeding out. And I think what Coach just said is a great idea. To just allocate, just make sure you have $15 a day to spend. And if you're gonna go over that, there better be a good reason for it. But Coach, your thoughts on this, as far as people, if you're having problems with it, you may need to get a track on what you're doing every day. You'll be surprised at the money that's just bleeding out that you're not even aware of.
Yeah. And prior to this, there's a major component, and I'm sure I saw. I believe I sent it to you. You sort of have to create a budget list with all of the items where you pay out all your bills. Break all your bills down, utilities, everything. Even break down your entertainment allocation for entertainment, groceries, clothes, anything that you believe you may spend money on. You have to break it all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
You have to write it on a line, create a spreadsheet, and start from there. And then you take your bring home income, and you have to be able to, again, allocate funds for each, I guess, department of your spending. Some may have monies allocated to it every month. Some may have it every other month. Some may have it a few months out of the year. But you have to break those down and then look at your income, and you start from there. So going throughout the week, I would say try to track those recordings in real time, especially if you're spending money out of an account. That's sort of becoming obsolete with the technology, because you can just get an app on your phone and you
Right.
can see exactly what you spend. But even with that, it's the same as recording it, but you have to be very detailed and be very attentive that you spend money for your personal wants, but also there's monies coming out of possibly of that same account that's going to take care of your necessities, like your rent, your car note, your lunches, anything that you're using for work. All of those things may be monthly. Your subscriptions, all of these 42,000
Yeah.
subscriptions.
Yeah. And we're gonna get into because
yeah.
that's going to be coming up on the weekly and the monthly goal planning as well.
Yeah.
But
So
but I think this one, like I said, I think this is important because, again, I think people, you may do that, but I'm just saying there's still some holes. And a
yes,
lot of times those holes is because you're not keeping track of those daily tabs. Like I said, that's $7 Starbucks every day.
yes,
And you add a $3
croissant.
bagel or something or whatever, you're like $10-15. Where'd the money go? I got my bills paid and whatnot, but I'm still bleeding money. Again, watch those expedients, spendings, especially when you're eating out on a regular basis,
Mhm.
when you're commuting and whatnot. Those are things that you got to watch out on, because those things can also bleed into your money, especially when you're younger, when you don't have a lot of finances and whatnot, where dollars matter. If you're making less than $1,000 a month, then certainly these are things that can really help you monitor. If you get to a position, you may not need to necessarily monitor your daily spending, but when you're just starting out, certainly your daily spending matters. But the
Yes.
next one here, again, check your bank account balances. I'm amazed how, again, a lot of younger people who are not, and again, you got the apps, you got, but I think a lot of it is, quite frankly, I truly believe this, they don't want to see it. It's like, if I don't see it, I don't have to worry about it.
Mhm.
So again, making sure you set those alerts on your phone. You can set up with your banks to say, look, if your checking account balance goes below a certain amount, or if you want to set the lowest bar, if it sets to zero, when your account sets zero, yeah, let it know. It's like, oh, my account is zero. I better transfer some money over there so I don't get hit with overdraft charges. Again, I've seen those as well. And so just making sure that you have a way of being able to check your spending week to week, especially when you don't have a lot of funds. Again, as Coach was saying, what are those things? What are those subscription costs that might be coming out that you said, I had money, but I forgot the Netflix came out, and the Hulu came out, and the ESPN Plus came out, and the what else? the Disney Plus came out, and before you know it, again, that can add up to serious money that you might be bleeding every month. So again, make sure you're checking your account balances on a regular basis, and just to make sure, again, have a better idea of, again, where the money is going. I think that's a very important tool. Next one, again, reading, finance related newsletters. Again, you want to be so educated. I'm not saying you got to be a Charles Schwab or whatever, but there's a lot of, especially with this economy the way it is and whatnot, be aware of what's trends. I mean, you don't have to necessarily subscribe to Wall Street Journal. There's Yahoo Finance, whatnot, but just be aware of what's going on, especially if you have investments or you're thinking about investing, then those are things that you want to monitor as well. I know there's new financial instruments out there. Again, not here to talk about, to endorse or put down. I know a lot of people are getting into cryptos and just different financial streams and whatnot. But again, at least be aware of trends that are going on in case if you do have to move some monies or whatever, or if there's things that you might be thinking about getting into, try to get yourself educated on finances and keeping up with things on a regular basis. So, Coach, I don't know if you ever were big into reading financial, I don't know if you're a Wall Street Journal guy or whatever, or something like that. But what's your thoughts on being read or well versed on the markets and just money in general, and where the trends are?
Uh, I can't say that I've consistently read like financial magazines and newsletters and things like that, but I do read it close. I keep up with the quarters, the
Yeah,
financial quarters. So
yeah.
and that's when I sort of get a little bit inquisitive about what's going on with money and transactions, things like that, the Dow Jones and stuff like that. Um, and I would say in the last 10 years, I became a little bit more detailed in just investing a little bit of money, just seeing how it operates. And I can say this: there was a penny stock that me and my wife, Vanguard, you heard of
Yeah,
Vanguard?
yeah, yep.
When they were starting out, man. And I don't know, man. I don't know again, not truly understanding, stocks and all of that. I We invested $4. It was a little penny stock at the time, and then it hit,
Hmm.
and then it paid out in six figures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it paid out. So once that happened, and that just happened recently. But when I did it, I looked for some penny stocks, some little startup stocks,
Hmm.
and I told my son, listen, if you find something like a little stock, you got $5, just throw the $5 in there and forget about it.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
said, if you're gonna let somebody, I said, before you let somebody borrow $20, take that 20, split it four or five ways, however you want to split it. Find a little investment, a little penny stock, and just forget about it.
Hmm.
Because you're young, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you never know.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? You never know. And that's how, for me, that's about as much as I would do. especially when you're young. When you're getting older, it becomes a little bit more risky because you're trying to maintain as much as you've built up.
Yeah.
So, but it's good to definitely read up on it, do some research. Right now, even now, the stock market is a little in a frenzy. I think it dropped. Everything sort of dropped. We coming up on what? We in the fourth quarter. I think October 1st is the end of the fourth quarter. I think. Am I right?
It might be the beginning of the fourth.
Yeah, the beginning of the fourth. Yeah, you're right. That's it. The beginning. So, and with all of this tariffs and all of those things right now, the stock market it appears to be unstable.
Mhm.
That's where the panic is. So I wouldn't recommend anybody, like, if you do have any stock, to sell right now.
Mhm.
Just hold on. Maybe if you can go through next year and you haven't really lost anything, at some point it's going to start reflecting some good dividends. So
Yeah. But I guess what I'm also thinking about more so is not so much the stock market per se. Again, get some
no,
financial help on that, but at least know what's going on. So, okay, in terms of the things you're going to spend on,
hmm
I may not want to buy a car right now because I don't know what the interest rates are going to be. You know what I'm saying? So
or
it's just those
house.
little things, or you might be thinking about buying a house or buying, whatever you might be thinking about spending on that vacation or whatever. It's like, look, I don't know how things are going to be. I might want to hold off. Again, just be informed of what's going on around you, so it kind of directs more of the financial decisions that you do on a daily basis.
hmm
You may want to pull back on something, or to Coach's point, if you do find something like a penny stock that you can consider investing in, then by all means you can do that. But again, know what's going on around you so you can know how to operate accordingly. Is certainly wise to do. So those are
And
some of the daily goals
yeah,
that you
hold
can.
on,
Yeah,
brother.
go ahead.
Before
Yeah,
you go, even with, like, when you read, like, financial material, don't just focus on the stock market. Follow the housing market,
yeah,
uh, any other markets where you believe you're going to be looking to make a major purchase. Because again, the interest rates seem to fluctuate a 0.5% a little bit over time,
yeah.
but also the value of that could shift too. So yeah, don't just look at the United States financial related market. Look at the world and see how that also is moving.
Indeed. So those are some of the daily goals. Let's go into some of the weeklies, and again, this gets more into what Coach was talking about earlier. So you got some weekly tasks that you need to be doing. Again, review this week's to-do list and set action items for the week. So again, never go into a week without a plan of action. Okay, so again, checklist. All right, if I do have to spend money this week, what does that money need to be spent on? Or if I need to put some money away, what do I need to be doing? But again, on a weekly basis, get a tab on some of those things that you don't overspend. Set some limits for yourself. Okay, so if I know I got to get this a particular item, don't go over, because people will try to sell you. There's always good, better, and best. I tend to go into the better category, just kind of shoot for the middle. But you can overspend on items as well. And so just having knowing what's coming ahead rather than just being caught with something that you weren't expecting. Having a weekly review to-do list of those financial matters that you have to do, I think it certainly helps you, again, stay on task. Because everybody gets started. It's like going to the gym. Everybody gets excited January 1, but you can easily get off of a financial track if you don't chart things weekly. So again, just look at those the daily expenses. Look at your weekly expenses, commuting, tolls, gas. How much is you spending there, and really kind of get a handle on that. So again, Coach, just kind of supports what you were saying earlier. When you start putting those bills together, and whatnot, what are those weekly things, and what are the surprises? Anything can go at any time. You can lose a water heater at any time, or whatever. So again, are you going to have money to take care of those things when those things come? So what are your thoughts on some of this weekly to dos?
No, man, great point, man. Just a little bit on, is there's going to be different type of budgets depending on your living situation also and your travel. So you have to sort of consider everything. But just, to take it a different direction, even with this, use the technology at hand. If you have to create an Excel sheet, something like that, just use that. Then that way you won't be trying to find a pen and paper and write these things down. You can just use an Excel spreadsheet, name it biweekly, whenever you get paid, name it, understand your bills you need to pay, and fill in the chart itself, and it'll sort of add it up for you. But again, with all of this, you're going to have to be very disciplined.
Hmm.
You're going to be very disciplined because it may seem overwhelming at first, because it forces you to pay attention to your spending on a micro and macro scale.
Yeah.
Going out, hanging out, the $5 to $6 $8 at Starbucks times five. That's what
40,
you know.
40,
You know what
50
I'm
bucks right
saying?
there.
And
Yeah.
then you multiply that by five. Then you multiply that ounce by four. Because if you're going to work 4 days a week, that can add up. Your
Yeah, indeed.
subscriptions, how many subscriptions you apply to?
Exactly.
And the subscriptions, they going up seem like every 6 months.
That's right. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
you
Yeah. A
got to
lot of people, I
consider
know a lot
all
of
of that.
people did the cord cutting with the cable, but you add up all these streaming services, like I'm paying more now for this than
Yeah.
I might as well go back to cable
Yes.
because
Yes.
the internet's going to cost you, $100 a month in some places, and then you add all these subscriptions on there. It's like, man, I'm back to $200 a
I
month.
just do
So,
cable, brother Bennett. If a movie come out, I can wait this 3 months, 4 months
oh yeah,
for it to, that's how we roll over here. And we play them just like you know, sometimes your local TV gives you little caveats on how
hmm
to save money,
hmm
trends and things like that. And they give you tips like I'm with I'm with YouTube cable this year for their little promotion. Then Comcast got one right after,
hmm
and I call, hey Comcast, YouTube, hey, well, I call YouTube, hey, Comcast is giving me a good
yeah,
deal.
find each other. Yeah,
My wife is good at that. She'll,
yeah,
hey, and they'll hit us back with a better deal.
yeah,
So we'll switch back and forth.
yeah,
And really quick thing, our cell phones, we get unlocked cell phones.
yeah.
So we can always go to the promotion because we got T-Mobile now. I'm like, we should have been done had T-Mobile. We ain't had no problems with our internet. The systems are strong. I'm like, okay, T-Mobile, y'all done came a long way, and
Yeah.
it's across the country. So
Yeah.
I think it's about $50 cheaper too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next point here, as far as your weekly tasks, again, set action items. Again, these kind of go hand in hand. What expenses, what things I need to take care of this week, and how do I do that in line with my budget? And it's funny that they got these stickies up because even with my
mm-hmm.
work, we started to use these little put these little sticky notes up to try chart our weekly. What do we want to get accomplished this week, and you just sort of break your week down. And this is also going to be important even in your long term. So we're going to go through this going for I could have did this backwards. I could have had the annual stuff first and then worked it back towards your quarterly, monthly, weekly goals. But these things are going to be important too if you're on a long term plan. The
Mm-hmm.
daily and the weekly action steps that you're going to be taking on a regular basis is also going to matter. So make sure that you take care of those as well as you as you go through these. So yes, and in fact, even on my phone, I have a notes or to do. I use the checklist on my iPhone
Mm-hmm.
to keep track of tasks that I know I got to do, especially even actions that I got to do on a weekly basis. So I got what I got to do for the month, what I got to do for the week. I keep all of that in the to do list on my iPhone, and it's a great tool for keeping me on task for certainly what I need
Mm-hmm.
to do. So that's another good one. Um, all right, so let's get to these monthlies. So again, this is where I think Coach's point earlier really comes into play, where this is where because again you typically pay your bills, your regular bills on a monthly basis, right? Electric bill, electric and utilities, your rent or mortgage, your car notes or whatnot. So again, you really have to be honest and get all of that on paper. Because again, I think a lot of people live in denial in terms of, and again, daughters, again, I had to go to the same thing. They still, to an extent, the numbers don't necessarily are connecting yet how much it costs to live independently. You want to get your own place in this area. Okay, that's minimum 1,500. Okay, car note with insurance at your age, probably 600-700. You just start adding up the costs of what it takes to do these things, but you have to get those things down and then be willing to live within your means of those costs. So, because it's easy. If you don't have those monthly bills, it's easy to say, yeah, we plan to go to Puerto Rico this month, and then next month we'll be in Cabo. And it's easy to start doing that when you don't have these bills to pay. But if you want to start living independently, you're going to have to get a handle on these things. So again, the first major point here, again, schedule, again, next month's schedule, all the bills on a monthly basis. You have to get a hold of those things if you want to not let things get out of control. And so I can't stress that enough. So again, Coach, I know you talked about, again, phone care. What else would you put on there in terms of your monthly planning? What else is going on that sheet?
Man, I'm gonna put gas for the month.
Yeah.
Man, possibly, I don't know, maybe lunch, but I'm a mixture guy. I'm like you. I prefer to take something from home
Yeah.
than to just go out and spend something and,
Yeah.
not really have a choice that I need at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't, just a rainy day, basically a rainy day fund. You don't necessarily have to spend money just because you have it. And sometimes when you don't some people emotionally spend. You sort of have
That
to
is true.
disconnect your emotions when you have money and
Yeah.
to spend the money. So uh, again, it could vary from each person's situation, especially with a home. I would advise anybody, put that rainy day fund away because you're responsible for any major malfunction items. Apartment, you know, even though it's high, if you can manage it, still just be, very cognizant of something could go wrong,
Absolutely.
with your car. Again, transportation costs, um, even your social life costs.
Hmm.
You must budget with that. A lot of people don't do that. They want to be the life of the party and buy everybody around, and so yeah, you have to be so many nuances to, what it's interesting since people are not really out socializing as much. Uh, I'll just say a gamer. If you want to buy the latest game, some people get the latest games when they come out,
Yeah.
but you have to budget that stuff too. So
Indeed.
you make sure everything is covered before. It's like what would be that would be the same as your entertainment and your I don't know what else, your activities fund, buying
Yeah.
games and doing things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's important to just mind those things out. And if
Mhm.
you're with somebody, you definitely have to have the conversations about this. You must have the
100%. Yeah.
conversation every
Yeah, and
month
that,
if it
that
takes.
that'll yeah, and
So
that'll mess the relationship up if you guys are not on the same page in terms of what the monthly expense is going to be like. You guys could have totally different perspectives on that. So that's definitely something that should be a conversation before you even think about doing anything long term with a person to do that. One thing that I've used recently, again, this is sort of like insurance.
mhm.
It may or may not pay off in the long run. Obviously, no one wants to necessarily get insurance, like life insurance and things like that on a regular basis, but those are things that you have to talk about. That could be a monthly expense. So again, do you have health insurance, not only health insurance, but do you have life insurance? Are you paying that life insurance premium every month? Those are things that you got to think about. Other types of insurance. Now, again, you talked about the car repairs and whatnot. And again, this is if you have maybe a car that may not be brand new or under dealer warranty. I know I've used for older cars, I've used Car Shield in the past. I'm not endorsing them or anything, but a maintenance plan. So again, so you don't want to hit with the big bill. And what I also like about it is that again, your monthly expenses are fixed in case something happens later on. So some people, consider those type of things, or getting an appliance a warranty of some kind. So again, in case if you do lose the washer dryer, and then that's going to be $1,500 that you got to spend on a refrigerator or something like that. Again, if it's reasonable, you got to read the fine print on those things. But if those things help you to at least be able to budget your money, I would rather pay a little bit over time that's consistent with the money rather than get hit with the big thing that's, oh my gosh, I got, this could take me out. So again, do your research. Not all companies are the same. Again, I'm not endorsing one or the other. I'm just saying that sometimes having, being able to plan your bills on a monthly basis is a good tool to use to make sure that you stay on track and you're not hit blindsided with something that you may not have been expecting. So the next one, again, that monthly review. So again, look at where your money, like Coach said earlier, add up that Starbucks over the week, over the days, over the weeks. See where you're at the end of the month. If you're spending $200-300 a month on eating out, well, or eating out in general, right?
Yeah.
I mean, me, it's funny because it's almost uncomfortable for me because I rarely eat out when I'm home or when I'm working in the state. I usually take my lunch, always breakfast and lunch. There's rarely a chance where I ever go out and eat. Now, when I'm on the road, it's impossible to do that because unless I'm staying in one of those, the hotels that got the full kitchens in them, they got the stove, they got the refrigerator and all that.
Yeah.
If I was staying in one of those, then I may still adopt, even though it's on the company's dime. But even me, it's like, man, I'm spending more a day than I may do in a week, and certainly more in a week than a month than I would in a week. So again, that takes a little getting used to because again, I'm just not used to just eating out every day. But some people do that, and it's coming out of their own pocket. It's not like the company is reimbursing you for these expenses. Now, again, if you're doing work for the company, then yeah, I mean, we got travel card, we got to rent cars and hotels and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, all that stuff is generally covered. But some people living like that, and they don't, it's not job related. So again, especially when it comes to eating out, especially for young people, you really have to be careful about that. Also, alcohol. That is for most restaurants and whatnot. They make more money on the alcohol than the food that they're serving. So you really got to be careful there. Those drinks, $6, $7, $8 a drink, $10 a drink. So again, you really got to be careful there. Alcoholic beverages, coffees and whatnot, all these high-end kind of places, you really got to be careful. All right. So again, that will all show up. And I think the number, because you may be thinking, oh, it's only $5 a day or $10 a day or whatever. But again, when those numbers scream a little bit louder on a monthly basis. You add it up and say, man, I spent $500 eating out. If you add up the drinks and the food and the alcohol and all that, $500, $6,000 a year. Yeah, that could be something that can really be like, whoa, I need to cut back. So sometimes the month speaks louder than the week or the day. But again, how you get those things under control, again, it starts with your daily and then your weekly habits in order to get those things under control. But, Coach, you spoke on this brilliantly. I don't think I have anything else to add. If you have something to add, we can go on to the next one.
No, I don't know if you mentioned it, but listen, if you're with someone, this should be a regular conversation throughout the entire relationship. This type of conversation, especially if both of you all are contributing to the home, then yes, have these conversations. Make sure that everything is getting paid on time. Make sure everybody is make sure all the money is divvied up in the appropriate areas it needs to go into.
Yeah.
Make sure there's no one is overspending, and if they are, have a conversation about it. And if you're underspending, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So if you have more at the end of the month than you expected, don't be so quick to go shopping. I
Yeah.
know it sound, hold on to it to the next pay period and see how it pay out. Then if there's something needed, go ahead, have your fun, your birthday, your travel, the kids, some clothes, all of that.
Mhm.
You won't break the bank just to get something that you want or need. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
definitely
Now,
have.
Coach, now I know you talked about you have your $15 a day rule, but is there like a limit that you set? Like in my house, I think that if there's any expense of any kind that's over maybe, and it's changed over the years, obviously with
Hmm.
time and whatnot, but so I would say $300
Okay.
is a conversation, or at least it's known or it's expressed. Like neither
Hmm.
one, my wife nor we would never, even if we had the money to do so,
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's not something that we would do without the other person not knowing about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, again, when we were younger, it might have been lesser. It could have been a bit more, whatever. But that's just something we've always kept sort of short accounts. Because again, we have one. We basically have one main account. You know what I mean? It's basically we have like a one pot thing. So it's not like I don't know what's in her account and she don't know what mine. We in everyone's account. We know exactly where the money is. So we're not divided that way. Again, some people is like, look, there's the joint account, there's my account, your account, or whatever. But generally speaking, we don't necessarily debit that up. I think that's another reason why that we let people know. So I don't want you to be looking at the monthly balance sheet and being like, oh, where'd that $300 go? No, you're gonna know if I spent it, and certainly she would let me know if she had to, kind of go in and spend that as well. So those are just things that we've done. Have you done things like that in the past where it's like, there's like a cap, like money, like if it's $25, $50, like I don't need to know about that unless it becomes a problem. But for any like major purchases, have you ever set like a limit in terms of, okay, we need to have a conversation if we're going to spend this much on something?
Man, shoot, that used to be a conversation I would have, man. If I was interested in a woman, again, I was always been like you mentioned earlier, being sort of frugal when it came to just dishing out my money. So I would always have this conversation. But then once I got with my wife, she was sort of on the same path as me as far as how she wanted to ensure that money is being allocated and it
Mm.
aligned with everything that who I was like, hey, you can live off $15 a day. Yeah, that's a lot of money. I was like, what if you want to go shopping? Well, at least I'll come and ask you. I ain't gonna just go, I'm like, she's saying all the things I needed to hear. Like, okay. And I was like, listen, based off who I was, things that I knew I could do, I wasn't going to fund a woman's lifestyle unless she was my wife.
Mm.
But I also, if I got a wife, and this is me talking, before I got to this base, my wife can have everything that I have. So any
Mm.
money here, that's why my $15 a day work because I can give my wife my whole check. Well, it goes into a one bank account. I do have
Yeah.
a Chase account where I put like right now I got like $9 in it, but my USAA and my Navy Federal accounts,
Hmm.
those
Yeah.
both, you know what I'm saying? It's everything. And
Yeah.
she knows she like, you want like we get a little $8 check. She like, here, go and put this in the Chase account, something like that. So if I gotta get something
Hmm.
quick, but I don't have no problem with my wife. Like I've never shared and paid money out and just girlfriend, boyfriend. No, but my wife, she can have it all, everything I get, because she's very good with money. She's
Hmm.
very good, and she gets man. She has so much stuff. And me, I'm a shopaholic. Like I go to the outlet mall
Hmm.
once a month,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't give me an outlet.
and
Outlets, flea markets.
I
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to Home Depot. I'm always. She's like, boy, you buy more tools. She's like, but I'm sure we're gonna need it. Whatever tool you bought, we're gonna need. And
Absolutely.
yeah, but as far as $300 a day, it's major purchases that we both will benefit from. As far as me buying
Yeah.
something that just for me, $300, man, no, I wouldn't do.
Yeah. Like I said, and I wouldn't I wouldn't go buy a lawnmower without saying we need
Yeah,
a
we
new
going to need
lawnmower.
a new
You know what I
lawnmower.
mean? I'm not gonna just show up and say, "Hey, I just bought this new lawn. It was on sale off
Yeah.
season, $300." Like, no, we're gonna have that
My wife is
conversation.
going with me to buy
Is
stuff like that. Yeah, come on, let's go to Home
yeah,
Depot and you can check it out. I'm serious. That's how I am.
that's a
She has to
romantic
go. Like,
purchase.
she'll go. Almost everything that we
Mhm.
got, especially for the house. Come on, I need you with me. Come on.
Mm.
I say, you ain't even got to get out of the car. I just need you there. And I show her the
Yeah,
details. Because she like to look at it and look at review. Here, go ahead and look at it. And, sometimes you say, oh, but it's cheap over here. So we make a little detour. We go over here and get the same item, save a little money. So it all adds up to
yeah,
us. So
that's right. That's right. Let's see, do we have anything else for the monthlies? Okay, so let's get into the quarterly stuff. Now, here, I would say again, now if you're a young person, like really young, again, we get into some more grownish
mhm.
kind of stuff here. You talk about investments, tracking yearly goals. Again, it's important. But I think certainly once you start to have some things, have some assets and whatnot, especially if you are going to start investing, and obviously you could be a young person investing. But again, it makes common sense. Again, those quarterly, assessing your investments, how things are doing. Now, some guys I think over obsess a little bit too much. Well, now, but again, it depends on what you're in. Now, again, I've seen a lot of guys who went to like the crypto markets or whatnot. They tracking it every day. Now, I remember when online trading came out, everybody was watching every day. Everybody thought they were going to be the next Charles Schwab or whatever. So everybody was checking the markets every day for that stuff. Me personally, I think you would go crazy doing that. So again, unless something major happens, like you said earlier, the tariffs or whatever it is, yeah, you might want to keep a track of those and see how those affect the markets. But generally speaking, I don't see value, and that's like like you put a seed in the ground and you keep digging it up to seeing if it's growing or not. I think you gotta, like you said earlier, yeah, put some money away and don't touch it. But it's okay to visit every once in a while to see how it's doing. You got to especially if you're going to be in these financial markets, you have to kind of let things play out. And a lot of times, again, quarterly reports come out, and assessments and whatnot at that time is generally when they're done once a quarter. So again, I think you need to give these things time. But if you're constantly obsessing, it went up a point, it went down a point. I just think that gets tedious after a while. But that's me. That's me personally on that. But yeah, but I think a quarterly review of your investments, I think, is a wise idea. Usually now, I don't know what they're doing now, but I know back in the day they used to mail these prospectuses out every quarter, and you can read through that if you wanted to, or you just I would just read like the high level summary, because again, them things get so detailed into the weeds and whatnot. It's like I don't have time for this. But yeah, your thoughts on, again, if you do have those investments, quarterly review.
yeah, that's why once I realized got into penny stock, then I'm like, okay, cool, a couple of dollars, then sit back and just watch the I guess the needle move up and down along its journey. So yeah, I would say when you invest outside of, if you're going to go out anything outside of a bank account, and not just stocks, but there's bonds, there's form of bonds. Even as Brother Bennett, you mentioned earlier, man, life insurance policies, man, whole life insurance policies, those things can be
Yeah,
long-term investments, 10, 20 years down the
yeah,
road.
whole ones for
And it's
sure.
best to get
Whole
it
ones definitely.
while the child is young. If you're gonna get
Mhm.
one, you have children, go and get it at that $3 rate, lock it in, man. And those things could really be beneficial as time goes, because as your income increases, you're still paying a low premium. And then next thing you know, child in college, you might be able to pull $40,000, $50,000 out to supplement that college. But yeah, man, I would think it's something you wouldn't have to do on a. If you're tracking your budget weekly, then when this quarterly or every 6 months, every time they roll around, you know exactly where you are, almost down to the penny. You wouldn't even
Yeah,
have to
for sure.
really, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't be able to call off the top of your head how much money you should have in each bank account or specific bank accounts and things like that. So, yeah, just stay on top of it. And definitely get anytime you invest in something, make sure you get those weekly brochures, those little quarterly um, what is it? These investment magazines and
Yeah.
bulletins. Make sure you follow it, but don't panic
Mhm.
just because it may drop. Don't panic. Yeah,
For a
don't
day,
panic.
yeah, you gotta let stuff grow a little bit. So, but again, this is something I said for older people. I think they may have a better grasp of that. But I'm just saying, just shout out to a younger person. Don't think you have to look at your investment portfolio every day. Like I said, I don't see how you say sane doing that. But yeah, definitely assessing investments. Again, progress on your yearly goals. Where are you? I mean, again, we're really going to get into this. Certainly for the next the next slides coming up. But yeah, I mean, it's like, where are we? The goals that we set for the year. How are we doing with those? Are we on task or on target? Was there something that may have come up? Maybe, like you said, a car repair or something like that, an emergency that came up where we had to do a little bit more, and that might have threw us off. How can we kind of get back on track? Because again, a lot of times, especially looking over a year, there's a drift that tends to happen. Sometimes you can't measure that at a day. Sometimes you can't measure it on a weekly basis or even a monthly. But again, once a quarter, see, are we on track for the goals that we talked about that we did? Or if we set 5 goals once a quarter, how many did we take care of in a quarter? If you want to do it like that as well. So I think this is a good time. And for me, I would say this is a good time to go to dinner. You know what I mean? Me and the wife go out and whatnot. That's an opportunity for us to kind of check on some of these things and whatnot. I'm not going to have the financials to say directly in front of me, but again, just high level, kind of where we at, how we feeling about. Do we need to make a change? Do we need to make a shift? Again, changing plans too quickly. But again, I get it. There's circumstances. What if you're laid off? What if you lose a job or what, something like that happens? Do you have to make a shift in your goals as a result of that? That's a time when you can have these real kind of situations that may come up where you may have to reassess. So, thoughts on this, coach, on just the time frames when you check in on some of the goals that you're setting, especially if they're yearly ones.
Uh, some of the, I guess the most prominent ones, quarterly checkups. You don't necessarily have to watch be exact on when the financial quarter's in, but it's a good idea to sort of keep up with that. And again, if you're tracking your weekly goals, you should definitely know where your quarterly goals are. And
Hmm.
outside of that, it's good sometime to even check in with your husband or your wife or your partner, in a sense, to see
Hmm.
how they are managing funds on their end, especially if there's any monies that may not be going into the one joint account. So if you do have separate accounts, it'd be good to just check in and say, hey, notice you've been spending a lot over the last 5 months. Is everything
Yeah,
okay? Or you
yeah,
haven't been spending anything. What are you thinking
yeah,
about? You know what I'm saying? Are you looking to do something bigger than what you're doing? Let's talk about it. I've been
yeah,
thinking the same thing. So maybe we can find a great adventure together and put half our little monies in there together and just watch it blow up. So,
no
yeah,
question. No question.
check in.
Awesome. All right, so let's get into the media ones here. So again, obviously you have your annual task. Again, compile and review your financials for over the course of a year, and also to set 3 to 5 specific goals for the next year. Now, I know me and my wife, we've been on this big time, so we can go into the points. But again, look at your stuff over the year. How has your portfolio been performing over the year? Again, sometimes you can't get an idea. Should I stay with this investment or should I get another one? Should I look into the, maybe switch, moving some things over? This is where you may want to get with your financial planner. and talk about, hey, where should we go from here? Should we stay the course, or should we look to move on? These are times when you make these kind of financial decisions. And so certainly, on the finance side, I think those are big. But the thing that's really been, and this is the last slide here, this is something that my wife and I say over the last 5 years that has really helped us to get our finances under control. We paid a ton of debt off in this time, also 3 to 5 highly specific goals for the next year. We have targets, and we are pretty precise with the targeting, especially when it comes to paying off debts. And one strategy that was taught to me that I've used and that I recommend to people is, again, you take your 5 highest debts, you pick on the little ones, just like in the animal kingdom, right? The lions and the cheetahs and whatnot, they look for the weakest links. They go after them first. They don't go after the big ones. They'll go after the little ones. But again, it's those little bills that you have, especially if they have a high interest rate. So again, you may have a little bit of credit, credit card, $1,000 on this credit card, but that credit card has a 19% or 25% or whatever. You're bleeding money. So rather than, my strategy's always been, say if I got 5 bills from the most expensive bill to the lowest, pay the lowest one off first. So I'm going to put minimum payments on them bigger bills because I want to eliminate the smaller one. Then once that small one is eliminated, I'm going to take what I spent on that little bill and I'm going to add that to the minimum payment on the next bill, the next largest bill. So I'm going to be aggressively paying. I mean, anybody, if you don't know by now, if you have multiple credit card debts or whatever, if you're trying to pay that off by minimum payments, you will never pay it off, or you're going to pay so much more in interest over time. So take the money that you were aggressively putting to take out that smaller bill, add that to the next largest bill, attack that one, and knock that guy out. Then you take that money, put that to the next bigger bill, and knock that out. So there have been years where we said, okay, we're going to eliminate. We can't take out everything, but these guys go this year. We paid off cars that way, credit cards that way, medical bills that way. We just attack stuff rather than just sprinkling around. No, we're very surgical, and that's done a lot to help us to pay off and get into a much more better financial position. And my credit rating is higher than it's ever been. It's well in the 800s now. So again, that strategy has really helped us to really tackle some things where, when the kids were, maybe 10 years ago, we were kind of always, put money here and there or whatever, but we've gotten a lot more surgical, and it certainly helped us out. So Coach, your thoughts on, again, these specific 3 to 5 specific goals for the year. And again, now, and I'm just talking about, that's just paying off debt. But again, your vacation, your purchases, major, if you're going now, Coach, I know you said you were looking at a truck. Where did that go? Because I know you were talking about it for a while and didn't hear much since then. You still looking, or did you buy, or what's the?
And I talked
What's the
about
deal
that
on
today to my wife. I'm still looking, but I'm gonna tell you, I start off high. I know we don't need a truck. We have 3 vehicles. I got a 2018 Ram. I just went over 75,000 miles on it, and I'm
Right.
looking for the last vehicle. But I also had purchased a 2023, and she had purchased a 2022.
Mhm.
So I I didn't want to accumulate. The truck's been paid off. My goal was to pay off the 2023, my car, and then take that and buy a new truck. Okay. It's still there. However, I'm looking at the possible, I guess, the financial, issues that may arise with as far as the economy. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to take that on. I got a little scary just because everything's starting to take effect, but it's not
Yeah.
really affecting the car market. So again, that's a goal, but it's not the top goal. We're at a place like now, like I said, everything is pretty much at a minimum. We just have our large bills,
Hmm.
and I don't want to create another large bill in a sense,
Yeah.
unless it's necessary. Like I said, my truck is still run good. I have no problems. I do a lot. I change the brakes on it. I change the oil on
Okay.
it. So that's an expense I don't have to pay. I still may get it first of the year. I have to see though. I can say it now, but I don't want to give up 20 some thousand for my car. But what I owe on it is 18,000 less than what it's worth. So I may give that up, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's still in the air. I look at the truck. I'm like, okay, I can go get it, and then I have discounts that's going to be added. But I'll say that as one of our goals long term, which we've started on since even I heard you mention it before. We're waiting for those Olympic tickets to go on sale
Mm.
because that's going to be one of our highlights, in our lifetime to go and enjoy the Olympics. We got our sports, gymnastics, basketball. It was something else. It was maybe
With
track
track
and
and
field.
field.
There you go. Yeah, that's the
Mm.
three we know we're gonna concentrate on. But if we happen to follow up on
Yeah.
some surfing or something,
Yeah.
because we're gonna ride up and down the coast, we sort of like to have the whole experience. We get a vehicle and we stuck in LA traffic. We stuck in LA traffic, but we're gonna get out and really see the country, get up and down that coast a little bit, and just because we're looking at about 10, 12 days to be out there. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are costs that you have to be mindful of as well. It's not just, I mean, the tickets, which are probably going to be expensive, but again, the
Yes,
airfare, the transportation, the hotel, everything's going to be um, priced
yes,
higher than it would be normally out there as well. So
yes,
it's just all these things that you have to factor
man.
in, not just the Olympics, but what everything to get to and from the Olympics and the venues and everything that you got to be mindful of because everyone's going to be looking to
Yes,
skyrocket then. So those are goals that again, and those are multi-year because you figure we got 3 more years. So again, you better start. Shout out to A
yeah.
Dub.
Shout out to A
I don't
Dub,
want to
man.
pronounce your name. Yes,
A
sir.
Dub
So
Baldy.
so again, these are things that you need to start planning these things now. And so again, getting those things together, paying off some debts if need be, so you can have more cash flow in order to in order to start putting money away for these things. So all those things are important. In terms of making sure that you're on a good financial footing. So again, whether you're 18 years old or 80 years old, always keeping track of your money, where it's going, keeping debt down to a minimum if possible, or having a strategy to pay debt off is certainly that's something that's very important. And again, getting track of things. Now, one thing that you said that I also appreciate, and this goes back to what I'm saying earlier, I was about lunch, but even when you said, I mean, cars, you fix your
Yeah,
own. It's nothing wrong with being a DIYer when it comes to certain things, certain skill sets. And now you can learn a lot of these skill sets on YouTube. There's a lot of things that you can do on your own. You don't have to just pay. If it was up to my girls, they pay for everything.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But there's certain things that, again, especially if money it comes at a premium, or it's not as available, then you definitely need to certain things you're going to have to learn. Again, instead of eating out all the time, learn how to cook a decent meal for yourself. This is man or woman. This isn't a women bashing thing, but I'm just saying for anybody, learn. I've been cooking since about 8 years old. So so there's not much that I can't do. I'm not saying I'm an expert at everything, but I can get by. You know what I mean? But just have that mindset to not always think that I have to eat out. Like I said, this experience with travel, the eating out, I've done more eating out over the past 5 weeks than I've probably done in the last 10, 15 years. Because again, we don't eat out that much. We'll go out, birthdays, holidays, special occasions, Valentine's Day, stuff like that, or we try to have our date nights and whatnot. But it's like every day. They give me $100 a day, coach.
I was just great to ask you that question. What's your per diem?
$100.
You
I'm
can't
like,
eat that. You can't
no.
eat that a day.
So I'm just saying it's like it's like, man, and I said I never felt good about overdoing, even though if I could. So that's again, that's just something eating just because you can doesn't mean you necessarily should. You know what I'm saying? Or I would rather spend, if I'm going to spend some extra money, I may upgrade my seat from in the airplane. I don't go to first class. No, I'm not doing that because they got rules on that too. They want you to fly coach, but I'll get the coach plus seat. I'll definitely make sure I'll spend the extra money to get an aisle seat so I can stretch my leg out. Or I'll get the exit row, which is the roomiest seat on the plane. I'll get the exit row. So I'd rather spend the money there. But food, I'm not tripping on that. You know what I mean? And so those are just things that some people, they may take advantage of that more than others. But again, I've always been sort of frugal that way or whatnot. And so when I get there, I get a few items that I can put in the refrigerator that I can have on the ready. I take protein bars with me everywhere I go. If I need a snack or something, so I'm not spending $5-10 on a snack. And just trying to have some agency over things I control. Like I said, the only thing, if I did have like a hotel, like with that one that had the full kitchen in it, then I know I may get me some Sam's, some steak or whatever. But again, I'll go to the Longhorn and order that. But again, trying to keep a healthy diet when you have all these eateries, because that's the only thing you can do in that area of where I'm at. They got a restaurant like on every block, seems every. So all people do is you eat and you get fat and you get high blood pressure and diabetes. You get all the stuff. There's nothing else to do. There's no dance hall. There's no movie theater. There's no the only thing like I said, I'm really gonna see if I can find the gym, even if I have to drive 20-30 minutes to get there. I'm gonna do that because I need to make sure that I get the work that my body needs, especially since I'm not eating necessarily the best quality food, because again, everything is carbs. You know what I mean? Like I said, when I'm here, all my meals are low carb for the most part. I don't overdo it on that stuff. But again, all the fast food, all the places out there, they got stuff, and either you get the burger without the bun, or you get, there's just certain things you have to go to those extremes, or you just, I'll go to Chick-fil-A, I'll get a salad, but then I'll say double the chicken, double the protein in the salad. So I'll make sure I get my protein macro in there. But these are things that I've just never tried to overly abuse. But
so, Brother Bennett, 2 questions. If you was to buy any form of produce, could you do that? Like oranges, apples, like bags of oranges, apples, stuff like that, while you in the location that you just for the week.
I probably could. I probably could. And like I said, but I get that. See, the hotel, they have all that stuff laid out there in the morning.
Yeah,
my hotel gives.
So you stay at the Continental.
So I'm taking all that. That's what I said. So I'm taking all that stuff anyway when I'm there. I don't have to go out and buy. I may go to, like I said, the Walmart and I may get me some Coke Zero or like an energy drink or something just to kind of get me started in the morning. But like I said, I'm not spending a ton of money. You know what I mean? It's just, because that's environment, I don't have to. But yeah, the guys go out every night, and they put a dollar limit on the rest of them, but they don't say it turns what you consume. A lot of guys buy alcohol, couple drinks there. That's $20
so, Brother
right
Bennett,
there. $25.
What's the most you've ever spent in a day for your meals?
Probably 60 to 65. I got Longhorns, in fact, because I just did this recently. So Longhorns, I got the big what do you call it? The bone-in the 16-ounce ribeye with the
Oh, you
bone
was
in,
good then.
and that was yeah, that I couldn't even finish. It was so big, so I'll definitely do the 12-ounce going forward. It was just too much food. But the bone in and with the fixings, the two sides and whatnot, they came to about $41.
Okay.
Then I probably spent maybe $15 for lunch earlier that
Oh,
day or
okay.
something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I
$100.
I don't even come up to those
Yeah, the
numbers.
$100 a day.
Like I'm not even in the, and it's weird because especially when you're eating with some of the execs, they'll take the whole bill. Like we'll all go to dinner, and he'd be like, "Oh, I got it," because he puts it on his,
His credit card.
because again, when you're in a management position, it's not only your meals, but again, if you're a team lead, it's like, "Oh, we taking the team out to Longhorns. Oh, I got this." But he does it in such a way like he'll use his card because he gets those, a lot of cards give you points for miles or whatever. He'll use his card, but then he'll reimburse it against the company card. And so he'll do that. So he gets his personal points, and but it's not on his dime. He can afford to say, "Oh, I'll spend a couple $1,000 this week or whatever, but I'll get it back in a couple of weeks or whatever." But he doesn't miss it. You know what I mean? So it's not like, it's hurting him to take on those extras or whatnot. He just puts it in. But yeah, I mean, that's so again, when you're balling in that kind of lane, it's a different mindset. It's a different world when they have that kind of expenses. But yeah, that's usually about it. We've been to some nicer restaurants where it's like $50-$60 a person. But again, he'll just take it. Would I go by myself and spend that kind of money? I don't know. Like I said, but the Longhorn 16-ounce ribeye, that was probably, yeah. I said, because I was really hungry that day. I don't even know if I even have lunch that day, but it was like I was really hungry, and I was like, you know what, I'm going long. so I'm getting the big steak, and I'm gonna keep it moving. So, but in any event, guys. So again, we're just again sharing some basic principles. Again, when it comes to financing, how do you keep track of your financing? Okay, especially if you want to start with yearly goals, you're gonna have to back those up by quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily goals. It all ties together. If you think you can't get a handle on your spending, these are things to be mindful of. But again, we're not here, as I said earlier, to give financial advice per se. You need to talk to an expert for that, certified accountants for that, and people who really know their stuff and where the money goes and whatnot. Be willing to have that conversation, the hard one, with somebody. And if they're gonna put you on a financial plan or whatever, if you want to get to these goals, be willing to accept those things and cut down on the spending on the movies and the restaurants and the clothing or the excess clothing or whatnot. You need to check all those things on a regular basis if you really want to get a handle on that. For young people, check your daily expenses. I would say for older people start to get their stuff together, definitely start yearly planning, but then go back to the monthly, weekly, and daily, just to make sure you're on track of those things. So again, this may, depending on the season of life that you're in, some of these things may impact you more than others. But you really need to get a handle on some of these things if you want to, have a bit more peace of mind and satisfaction when it comes to investing in or how your money works. So Coach, I think I think we can certainly put a pin on this one and whatnot. So I will, you want to give your closing thoughts as we run down the show. Also want to thank Brother David. I know he put some good resources out there. Again, we don't endorse any companies here. But again, he put some good financial resources up there for people who want to get started with investing. Acorn, I hear, is a good one. Robinhood. There's a lot of places where you don't, because a lot of people think I got to have a lot of money to invest, and a lot of times you don't. I mean, if you want big money, yeah. But I'm just saying, just to get into the habit, because a lot of this gets back to our habits, our daily and weekly and monthly habits. Can you get into the habit of putting some money away every week or every pay period, every time you get paid? Pay yourself first. Can you do that? And then as that money accumulates, then you can start thinking about more long-term investment strategies. But he put some good resources in there that you certainly check them out and certainly see if they work for you. But Coach, I'll give you the last word as we wind down the show.
No, man. Listen again, man. We're no experts. You know, we gone through our lives making decisions about our finances personally and as a group economic uh, strategy with our families. You know, and I would hope that anybody, if you're looking to increase your, I guess, your residual income, um, just be very disciplined in how you go about it. There's no one specific way. I wouldn't necessarily go by what somebody else, what their strategy is. I would definitely look into it. Don't dismiss any strategy. Don't dismiss any possible avenue to invest. Definitely pay your bills on time. If you can, like Brother Bennett said, pay the smaller bills off, pay them off before the big event comes up. Make sure you discipline, and if you have the funds and you have at least a couple of pay periods where it won't really affect the outcome, yeah, go ahead, buy that and purchase that event or go to that event. If you need a new washer and dryer, that takes priority over going shopping. Get the new wash, get the things that's needed. And again, hopefully anything that we can provide, man, somebody can use bits and pieces of it. And if you can't use it, share it with someone else. So I appreciate everybody. Mo love, A Dub, all of y'all that showed up, man. Just appreciate y'all. Hopefully we can save y'all some money. Put a little money in your pocket. Salute to Sparta, CBN Tech, everybody, Mariana, everybody, man. So yeah, man, appreciate y'all for showing up, man. And again, please donate to the show. My brother Bennett right here, man, he does a great job putting together the slides, even when he's on the road. So when people say they can't do stuff or they don't have enough time, this man is out traveling and working and still putting together the slides for us. And see, we working as a team. So hopefully we can get monetized and then we can have one major pot that the funds go to and we can just allocate it accordingly. So salute to everybody, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, thank you guys once again for being on. I really appreciate this show. This is a really one of our better ones, and certainly looking forward to more conversations. So look forward in the next few shows. Going to talk more about finances and again how you can be better in those areas. But we really want people to be better in all areas. Again, physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual development. Two bald opinions, giving our views on things, and take what you can use and hopefully this will be a benefit to you. So this is what we're all about. Certainly now, this point in our lives, we just want people to be better off, and we want to make ourselves available to make people better off. So with that, thank you, Sparta HQ Network, once again for the platform. For everyone else, enjoy your week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Good night. All right, we're waiting for our guy David. We're waiting for the outro. Come on, D. Close us out on the right note, sir. Well, we at it again, but all right. But I'm just going to personally sign off, sir. But again, I'll see you. I'll see you. I guess over the weekend time or surely by next week.
I'm gonna email you too. So check your email about the slide that you sent me. It wasn't this show. It was something. It was you text me a picture.
Oh yeah. That was just something I just saw.
Oh, okay.
Was beneficial. So it was just something I saw this information. So but I will. But if you want, I'll email you.
Yeah.
So you'll have
I like those
for sure.
Man.
Okay.
Appreciate you, man.
Okay, man. You got it, man. Yes, sir. All right. You guys have a good night.